Today, we are focusing entirely on the First World War and the armistice that ended that war. A great many things happened in that war. They say, the historians tell us, that Canada became a nation on the battlefields of Europe, and particularly at Vimy Ridge. That war ended with an armistice. Having begun in 1914, it ended on the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month, 1918. The fighting stopped. The guns went silent. The First World War, the war to end all wars, was over. This afternoon's engagement, I hesitate to call it a concert, and I know Mr. Wahl hesitates to call it a concert. It's so much more than that, and we hope that you will allow yourself to remember, to feel the emotions that this day will bring for you. As part of our commemoration, what we're going to do is ring a bell, and I'll tell you a little bit more about that later, but it's a bell that came from the HMCS Medicine Hat, which was commissioned in 1941 and was a minesweeper in the Second World War. And when it was decommissioned, I'm not quite sure the course that it took, but eventually the bell from that ship found a home with the Naval Cadet Unit here in Medicine Hat. And we'll be using it this afternoon. And there are 238 names of soldiers and nursing sisters who lost their lives in the First World War and whose names are on the cenotaph in the park. I'll be reading those names in groups of about 40. So after your applause, I will read about 40 names. Then I will invite one of the 6 cadets. Well, there's actually 7, one supervisor. But I'll be inviting one of those cadets to come forward and ring the bell in remembrance of those names. And then we'll go on to the next piece of music. So I think with those things said, we will begin our act of remembrance. We will remember them. Please march on the colors. And you should stand at this point. Concertmaster Bill Wahl. And if you would remain standing, we will sing O Canada.
We
So I want to thank the Color Party from CFB Suffield. I want to thank which I believe is a combination of Canadian and British service people from that place, and members of the Royal Canadian Legion who formed the other side of the Color Party, and of course our cadets, and you'll be hearing more from them shortly. I also want to thank the City of Medicine Hat. This concert was conceived by, it's kind of the brainchild of Scott Payne, and he planted the seeds and gathered a little committee, and Bill Wahl basically took up the challenge and has put together the program that you're about to hear and receive. And with that, I will begin reading the 238 names from the Cenotaph. F.C. Abbott, Ray Adsit, T.L. Allen, T. Allen, J. Alderdice, J.R.E. Allingham, J. Anjan, G.N. Atkinson, C. Axworthy, J.C. Bannon, D.L. Balkenstein, J.A. Bell, J.F. Baird, Louis Beauchesne, John Beauchesne, C. Bennett, F. Bennett, O. Burgett, C. Bingham, G. Bland, G.F. Blake, Wilbur Blossom, S. Borthwick, W.S. Britt, William Brown, W. Brown, R. Bramley, W.H. Brotherton, H.E. Bullivant, W.J. Bullivant, W.J. Burns, J. Buttry, H.W. Cairns, W.H. Cairns, J.A. Cameron, J.A. Carson, J.H. Carson, E. Childs, A. Clark, J.W. Clark, M.T. Clark, W. Clark. Master Seaman Tanner Stone, please come forward and ring the bell. We will remember them. Our piper this afternoon is Cameron Clark, and he's done a very fine job on that wonderful piece of music, which you will probably recognize as Highland Cathedral, the official, I believe, an official tune of the Royal Scots Dragoon Guards. The next piece that you're going to hear after I read some more names, but I'm going to talk to you about it now, is called Letters for Home. It is specifically focused on the First World War. It is in 3 movements, and each one begins with a letter home. Not letters from home, letters back home. Broadly outlining the emotions that would form part of a soldier's life during the war. The letters are going to be read. The first letter comes from a soldier in training camp, and that will be read by Mark Jolie. Then there will be a letter from the trenches, and that's going to be read by Earl Morris. And then there will be a letter, Home But Not Home Yet, from a convalescent hospital, and that's going to be read by Mr. Hugh Semple. So with that introduction to the piece of music that's soon to follow, I will read some more names. H. Clay, W.H.K. Clay, B.W. Cook, W. Cooper, E. Crouch, G.A. Cunliffe, R.D. Curry, W.J.T. Curry, T. Cutler, D.J. Campbell, Alex Cathro, W.J. Chaplin, A.M. Davidson, G.T. Davidson, C.W. DeCourcy, William Dyer, W. Deegan, James Dickinson, R. Doblin, C.G. Dodsworth, J.W. Douglas, J.P. Ellis, J.T. Elsey, H.H. Evans, G. Faulkner, T.F. Fennell, J. Fleming, W. Fleming, F.D. Finley, John Foster, P.R. Fraser, I.J. Friedman, W. Fromont, E. Garland, H. Garifon, C. Given, D.N. Goodall, H. Gordon, O. Gordon, J.N. Griffith, J.B. Graham, E. Grape, and Nurse N.E. Green. We will remember them. Petty Officer 2nd Class Charisse Bird, please come forward and ring the bell.
Training camp, November 1914. My sweet Isabel, after the train ride east and the ship crossing, we are finally in training. Most of our instructors are elderly persons who have come out of retirement, as most of the experienced officers are already in France. I am presently in Tidworth, with 600 other recruits living in tents. The humid winter cold here has us chilled to the bone. Mother had always told me to wear pajamas or I'd get lumbago. It rains a lot, and icy mud often flows over the floor, sometimes to a height of 2 inches. Tent pegs don't hold, with the inevitable result that each increase in mud and rain is marked by the wholesale collapse of tents, blankets, of tents. Blankets, bedding, clothes, and men become plastered with mud, and conditions begin to have an effect on health. We are generally handicapped by a shortage of rifles and equipment, but I'm fairly bitten with the military fever, and I'm learning all I can. I spent yesterday morning shooting on a big range. I'd never shot before, so I didn't do it very brilliantly. There's quite a lot of kick, and the noise is considerable. There were only 4 of us firing at once, and it was quite loud enough to make one's ears ring. What it must be like on the firing line with thousands of rounds going off, besides shrapnel and explosive shells, is beyond comprehension. I will ship out soon, both excited to do my part, but also rather frightened. As news from the front line, the little we hear, is not good. I can't dwell on that. I miss you terribly. Say hi to friends and relatives for me, and try not to worry. I would try to write again soon, but don't hold your breath. Things are about to change in a big way. You will always be with me, my darling, no matter what happens. Danny.
From the trenches, February 14th, 1915, France. My darling and loving wife, Emily, it is Valentine's Day, and my thoughts are with you as always. I wish that I could be with you on this special day of love instead of being here in this hellhole. I pray for the day that this war comes to an end. Please pass my love on to the children and kiss them for me. We arrived at the front line just over a week ago, and the smell was so bad that many of the men were sick. Raw sewage from the open cesspits, body odor from men who haven't had a decent wash for weeks, dead bodies rotting in shallow graves and laying out in the open in no man's land. The smell of exploded bombs and the odor of mustard gas linger for a few days after each attack. Stagnant mud, cigarette smoke, and cooking smells all add to the unpleasantness of the trenches. Rats are everywhere. Some of them seem to be as big as Felix, our cat. I have been told that I will get used to this over time, but I fear it will haunt me for the rest of my life. I shaved my head and other body hair yesterday because I was crawling with lice. Most of us have been scratching and itching almost since the day we got here. The rain is constant, flooding the trenches and turning the floor into mud. It is so bad that some of the men are getting sores on their feet and can hardly walk. Sleep is hard to come by with the constant booming and banging of the shells from both sides. My bed is a bunk in a dugout section of the trench, a mud roof and mud floor, and the constant threat of a stray shell. We don't sleep much. I am scared, my darling Emily. My life is under constant threat. Bullets randomly fired at us, shells exploding every minute of the day. Men are dying all around me. If not from a stray bullet or shell, it's from fever and disease. 4 of the boys in my squad have died already. They went through the basic training with me, and I considered them good friends. My best friend, John, shot himself in the foot just to get out of here and away from the trenches. He'll be treated in a field hospital and maybe sent back to England. We're going over the top tonight. A and B squad went last night, and most of them were killed or wounded before they even got 10 yards out of the trench. It is barbaric and a futile waste of human life, but this is our hell. I will close now and pray that this is not the last letter that I will ever send to you, my darling. Your ever-loving husband, George.
April 18th, 1917. My dear mother, I hope you will forgive me for not writing to you before. I know you must have been worried about me. I've been here in England for a long time now. I have not been too good in health. I think my constitution is ruined. I never feel well now. Perhaps the result of a constant diet of bully beef and biscuits. I think I told you before about my legs being paralyzed. I got Mary's photo and Harold's letter. My word, Mary has grown up to be a fine girl. I am quite proud of my sister. I am in camp somewhere in the Salisbury Plains. It is very bleak here in the winter. Someday, if I get better, I suppose they will send me back. All men are wanted nowadays when we are pushing them back so well. The other day I heard that the Australians had to go with the Prussian Guard and gave them what was the first serious defeat the Prussian Guard has ever had, I believe. I get a little better each day, I think. It's amazing that I'm still alive. We have so many heroes. I think the bravest of the lot are the stretcher bearers. Every one of them deserves a Victoria Cross. Not only in my estimation, but in everybody else's. I very seldom get any letters here. The mail seems to go astray. You have asked me about the boat I came over in. It was the Clan McGilvery. I don't have any idea when I might come home. If the paralysis doesn't go away, I suppose I will be here until the war ends. We all hope that soon. We get word from the front when the injured arrive. There are so many hurt and maimed, and so many of our boys will not be going home. And I'm thankful that I have all my body parts. Well, I suppose I must close now. I'm ashamed of myself for not writing to you before. You know I don't like writing, although I can go all right once I start. But I take a lot of starting. But I will try to write more often in future. With best love to all at home and yourself, I remain your loving son, Trevor.
you again to our readers. This war, the First World War, was the most horrendous, terrible, terrible conflict. You can hear those guns in the drums that were played there. Imagine living in the trenches with that constantly with you. It's beyond our capacity to really imagine. So, war comes with triumphs as well as its more somber moments. And what you're about to hear next is the 1812 Overture, which was written 100 years before, well, not quite 100 years, it was written in the late 1880s by Peter Tchaikovsky. It's a commemoration, it's a celebration of the defeat of Napoleon and his Grande Armée in Russia. And they get sent home through a terrible Russian winter, and we all know the history there. I think you're going to enjoy this piece of music. Again, you get bass drums standing in for cannons, and they do a very good job, I can assure you. And you get the chimes standing in for church bells, and they're quite uproarious as well. So I think you'll enjoy the 1812 Overture, and we will remember some more names. Win Harmon, Reg Harrop, A.O. Harvey, C. Hawkins, C.C. Hawthorne, F. Heim, V. Hemion, D. Henderson, J. Henderson, R. Harold, D. Higgins, H. L. Hole, J. Hodge, W. Hoyle, A. Husseby, W. J. Imrie, Alex Inglis, J. R. Ishheim, T. L. Izzard, J. A. Jackson, V. A. Jackson, W. Jaffrey, A. T. Jenkins, J. Jones, E. Johnson, W. Johnson, Nurse A. Healy, Clyde G. Kent, W. H. Knight, H. Lauder, J. Lauder, P. Lee, T. F. Lee, H. S. Lyle, G. Mallory, C. F. Mann, W. Marsh, F. Marshall, G. Matthews, R. Medland, Leo Newton. Master Corporal William Donahue, please come forward and ring the bell. We will remember them. That is a great, great piece of music. Those cannons, of course, are going off in celebration of the defeat. They're echoing in Napoleon and his army's ears as they flee from Russia. They're being fired in celebration. The church bells. We're going to hear, I hope, some church bells. There's supposed to be a cascade of church bells going off across the country at sunset, I think today. So when you're at home, listen for them. Tomorrow it is? Okay. Okay. So your next piece of music will be something called The Vanished Army. They Never Die, is in brackets. This is a march that was written as a final musical salute to the fighting troops of the First World War. The composer was Kenneth J. Alford, and he dedicated the Vanished Army to the first 100,000 soldiers who made the supreme sacrifice during World War I. Unfortunately, there were many, many more. Just so you know, Mr. Alford was quite a composer. He was known at the time, in his own lifetime, as the king of marches. He wrote a lot of military marches. And one of his best known ones is the Colonel Bogey March, which we all know from Bridge Over the River Kwai, with its whistling, echoing parts, which apparently came from whistles that were signals on the golf course, but that's a whole other story. So, as we continue to remember them, A. Middleton, C. Middleton, J. Middleton, H. Milnes, W. J. Milne, William Mitchell, A. Mullinson, A. P. Morehouse, W. Morrison, D. Mulholland, John Myson, H. G. MacDonnell, J. W. McLean, D. A. MacDonald, P. R. MacDonald, W. H. MacDonald, F. McManus, A. McIntosh, W. Neal, L. M. Northam, H. K. Oakes, William O'Hara, H. Osborne, E. Oxley, W. Page, W. Patterson, J. Patulo, J. Pearson, M. Petty, W. Penhale, J. W. Pickering, F. Pott, G. Power, C. Prince, G. Prout, C. W. Reese, E. Render, J. Rich, J. J. Richardson, J. W. Robertson, J. P. Robertson, V.C. We will remember them. Corporal Gabby Douglas, please come forward and ring the bell. next piece that you're going to hear is called Nimrod. Nimrod was a king that's mentioned in the Bible. I don't think he's an Israelite king. He's one of those other tribes' kings, another country's king. And he was a mighty hunter. But that's about all I know about Nimrod. This piece, named Nimrod, was written as a final musical salute to the fighting troops of the First World War. Sorry, I'm in the wrong place. This is the last movement by British composer Edward William Elgar to his collection called the Enigma Variations. It was called Nimrod, and that can be defined as a mighty hunter before the Lord. Because of this definition and the music, it became a call to battle and to patriotism. So the words that come to mind during the performance of Nimrod are country, flag, live it, love it, be proud, your courage and resolution will bring us to victory. So keep those thoughts in mind when we come to Nimrod. We will remember them. N. Robeson, S.L. Rose, R.W. Roy, J. Rushworth, A. Russell, C.J. Sallow, Hugh Sackrider, J. Sculthorpe, R.E. Shaw, R.J. Sharp, J. Shannon, W. Symie, A.D. Smith, A.O. Smith, L.C. Smith, W. Smith, C.S. Summers, P. Spence, J.P. Stapleford, C.H. Stephen, W.J. MacLeod Stevens, H. Stevens, F.W. Stott, A.P. Stratton, F. Tapsell, J. Taylor, F.D. Teal, N.A. Teal, A.O. Thompson, J. Thompson, A. Tilley. We will remember them. Sergeant Isaiah Nickel, please come forward and ring the bell. to the close of our program, I think I'd like to take a moment at this time just to make a few acknowledgements and thanks. First of all, to the City of Medicine Hat for providing this wonderful theater free of charge for the use of this particular concert. They made it part of their community series, and I think we are all very grateful for the wonderful auditorium in which we've been able to hold this event. And I think we need to give thanks to the concert band, the Allegro band of the Medicine Hat Concert Band Society. I know they've been working long and hard on the music that Concertmaster Bill Wahl chose. I think he chose some very appropriate pieces of music, and I know that he wants the emphasis to be on the act of remembrance, and I think we've placed it there, but I do think we owe these people a great vote of thanks. To our cadets for taking part, thank you for being with us. To Piper Cameron Clark for his role, and to our color party. Everyone plays a role here, and I think that we have remembered well the end of a time of great tribulation, and we are grateful for the peace that came on the 11th of November 1918. With that, I'm going to remind you, so following the last reading of the names here, we're going to go to the evening hymn and sunset ceremony, which is used to bring closure to the Soldiers' Day using a hymn and a bugle call. The bugle calls vary from the British, American, Canadian. I'm not going to be able to tell you which is which, but if you've got some experience there, maybe you'll know. They're all incorporated into this particular piece. As that piece ends, the color party will have their cue to come on with the piper, take the flags, and leave the auditorium. And then the piper, with the cadets, and then the piper will play a last lament. So after this piece, during the color party's exit, and during the lament, I'd ask you to remain silent, to remain seated, and then at your own time of your own choosing, after the lament is over, please get up and quietly leave the theater. We will remember them. A.F. Todd, T. Todd, G.H. Tufts, R. Tufts, T. Turner, W. Trenholm, T.M. Tweed, Roy Tyus, Fred Tyso, F. Unwin, D. Vincent, W. Waite, C. Walker, John Walker, E.A. Walsh, W.S. Watson, C.H. Weir, L.V. Weldon, L.H. Wedderburn, T. Westcott, T.H. White, W.P. White, G. Whitehead, A. Whitehead, H.A. Whiffen, A.C. Wilson, C. Wilson, M.W. Wilson, E.E. Williams, R. Williams, J.G. Willis, N.E. Withers, Pat Wisdom, C.H. Wolven, T. Woods, C.R. Wold, Elmer W. Wright, Robert Ewell. And for the unknown soldier and all those who gave their lives as a supreme sacrifice, named or unnamed here this afternoon, we will remember them. Sergeant Kim Budai, please come forward and ring the bell.